What up, bros? Welcome to another Brograph Brocast. I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt, and joining us today, you've heard the sultry sound of his vocals on Cinema4D and many other places. Joining us today is the man, the myth, the legend, Noseman. Thanks for joining us.
Nice to be here, guys. It's been a long time.
Mm-hmm. And Brograph is a supplement to our site, brograph.com, which is a motion graphics tutorial site with tutorials, plugins, podcasts, and other MoGraphy stuff. And on the show, we talk about everything ranging from motion graphics to Cinema4D, After Effects plugins, render engines, doing business, doing taxes, being a contractor, or working for the man. And you can email us your questions, comments, show topic ideas to brograph@brograph.com, or you can get in our Slack channel, brograph.com/Slack. And put topic ideas in there and chat with all the people about all the fun stuff and things.
Yep.
And this week, we are getting back down to business. The excitement of DFWC4D has worn off.
Yep.
And we're now getting ready to go to NAB.
Yes. We're prepping for NAB, I guess.
Prepping for NAB. It's going to be fun. It's begun. It's going to be the big meetup of the year.
Are you going to be there, Thanasis?
Oh, yeah. Every year I'm there.
Are you presenting this year?
No, this year I'm actually supporting the Maxon booth.
Okay.
Yeah, because you know that I'm the least talented human being ever born.
That is not true, but okay.
No, but see, that's the trick, the sleight of hand, that I've made everyone believe that I'm actually talented. Anyway, and the fact is that there's so many talented women and men that are presenting with us this year. It's going to be awesome. So I didn't even have to surrender. It was my position was taken over by someone that deserves it more than me.
Well, good.
Yeah. I'm happy about that.
Well, good. We'll at least see you. That's what I'm looking forward
to.
to.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be fun. And it always feels to me now like the whole beginning of the year, every year, is the giant build-up to NAB. And it's like, after NAB, it's like, okay, now we can get on with our year, because it's all I can think about. And the spring is just always busy. And my brother actually got married 2 days ago, so it's like it's been this big build up, and now it's like, okay, now I can really think about NAB, because like all the crazy spring stuff is done. I'm ready to visit with people and get excited about new products coming out, and NAB reinvigorates your passion. I feel
it totally
like
gets you pumped for like doing the rest of the year until you start getting bored around SIGGRAPH, and then you go to SIGGRAPH and you're like, yeah, all right, let's do this again. And then January comes and you're like, where's all the business?
Well, the main catalyst with all these events is not the event itself. It's Maxon hospitality and the artist community that is around Maxon. I mean, Maxon can just go in the middle of the desert and put on a show, and it's going to be miles better than NAB and SIGGRAPH together without Maxon. So.
And everybody will show up.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So a couple things, week wrap-up things I wanted to talk about before we get into the meat of the program. I actually got an email from Ranch Computing. And they were talking about they were talking about the fact that, I don't even know, I guess they listen to the show, I guess they're fans, I don't know. They were talking about the show and the fact that I was reporting that I had an issue with that.
And after this episode, we're going to get another email from Ranch Computing.
Right. No, I was nice about it. They were wondering why I talked about that. Because it's not true. And I was like, what do you mean it's not true? They're like, well, actually, we opened up your file and we dug into it and we found out that there's a glitch in Octane and you should disconnect these nodes and do all this stuff. And I'm like, well, that's not in your FAQ.
Yeah.
And I wasn't necessarily like bad mouthing. I said, I was very, very nice. And I sent something back and I said, look, this is what it appeared to be. And I reported on something. And that's the best part about our community, is if there is something that we're having a struggle with, or a technical glitch or an issue, that the community helps us figure out the problem. And I said, this Octane issue, I still haven't verified that this was the issue, but it's one of those things where your nodes will not work correctly if and output the correct deal, like image sequence, if you don't disconnect them and reconnect them. Like, there's nothing that says that anywhere. So Oh, good old Skype. Switch
Skype.
sides. So now you're on the other. Now you're no longer in the middle.
Well, according to the live stream, there you go.
Hey, now I'm in the middle.
So if anyone sees me looking that way, I'm just looking at myself, right? Just
Yeah.
Well, and now you're frozen. So turn off your video and turn it back on.
Okay, let me do that. Video off.
Gotta love Skype.
No.
Yeah. Telling you, we need to try this out on Discord.
Can we make bad comments about Skype?
I know.
Yeah,
Oh,
dude, you can
always.
make bad comments about anyone you want.
Thank you. So I had to make a comment about Skype, and hopefully many, Microsoft users hear it. It's the first product that was good enough when they bought it, and a $1 trillion company has managed to do everything within their power to make it bad in every possible way. Now, if they make a statement and they said we did an experiment to see how bad we can make a very good piece of software, then then kudos. I mean, that is something amazing because it can't be by coincidence. They must be doing it on purpose for some reason.
Yeah.
I feel the same
I've been
way.
playing around with Discord the past few weeks. I've been training my brother how to use After Effects so that we can throw him some of our grunt work, So I've been training him how to do it, and him and I have been on Discord, and I really like Discord. I like it a lot.
The only thing that I don't like is when you're doing video, the graphics cards are just slammed compared to Skype, and I don't know why that is. Like my fans are going crazy, and I don't know what the difference is in their processing.
Yeah, I don't know.
By the way, you guys have PCs, don't you?
We have PCs and Macs.
And Macs. We have
But
both.
basically, when you talk about problems, you're talking about problems on your PC, right?
Of course.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
We
that makes
hate
sense.
Windows, but we have to use it. That's basically how it is. You know?
That's what I tell myself.
Speak for yourself. I don't hate Windows.
When I do my self-whipping thing, that's what I say. I hate it, but I have to do it.
I really like Windows. Ever since I switched over to a PC, I don't know. I don't mind it. It's all just a launcher to me.
But there's terminology for that.
What's that?
It's hoodwinked.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna say what's it called when you take a prisoner and then they fall in love with you?
Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
I didn't want to use that. It's a bit too heavy. Yeah. So
Right.
let's say hoodwinked.
Okay.
So, as far as the ranch thing, I guess all I'm going to say on that is that once I look at it and figure it out, then we'll post the solution. But it has something to do with image sequences. Apparently, Ranch, you can do image sequences with Octane as long as this glitch doesn't happen, which, I mean, how is anyone supposed to know about that? And he said the problem with having 24/7 support is that you have to pay somebody for 24/7 support. I'm like, and I was like, well, yeah, but I mean, I feel like a lot of the people who are using a render farm are doing it as a last minute or emergency thing, and that's when you're going to need the support the most, or else, like me, I'm just going to say, oh, well, there's no way to fix this right now, I've got to move on to the next thing, So again, it's nothing negative. It's not meant to be negative. We're reporting on the things we encounter, and that's all it is. I do want to say
actually, before you do this, can I jump back to NAB real quick?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay, so they actually just released all the presenters for NAB.
Yes.
I forgot to put this in the show notes or whatever. So the only ones that they officially announced and pushed out to Twitter was on the International Women's Day, which is way awesome. Let's see. As far as the women, they've got Julia Simone, Robin Haddow, Devin Coe, Caitlin Kaju. You'll remember her from the show. Let's see. Penelope Niederlander. You'll remember her from the show as well. And Sarah Wycliffe, one of our good friends as well. So super cool. They've got those 6 female presenters, and then joining them is, of course, Nick Campbell, EJ Hassenfratz, Barton Damer, Andy Needham, Chris Schmidt, Dan Pierce. I'm excited to see that one. I enjoyed his a couple of years ago.
The Fox thing.
Yeah. Chris Villa, DJ Strange, Nate Rodriguez Vera, Phil Roberts, our very own Raid Zero.
Yeah, Raid Zero.
Sabor Emizorzodi. I totally messed that up, and I'm really
Tough one
sorry.
to pronounce.
Zachary Corzine. So a really good lineup at NAB this year. So should be
really good. Are you?
Yeah.
You're going through an underestimation phase, I think.
No, it's gonna be an awesome lineup for NAB. So very excited.
And we're going to try to at least talk to some of these people. I don't know how much time we will have, but we're going to try and do some short snippets with all of these people if we can before NAB, just to talk about what they're going to talk about during NAB and get people excited about it. So that'll be fun. And so I wanted to mention the bat signal. If you are on Slack, we actually have a channel now on Slack, on the Brograph Slack, called the Bat Signal. And this is because I didn't want to go do full channel announcements that send out like annoying updates to people who don't want them.
Like
so
@channel.
the Bat Signal, if you sign up for that particular channel on Slack, you will be able to, you will get those notifications when we go live. So if you are on that, that's where you get that. So if we're going to do VR meetups or live streams or anything like that, if you want to get those notifications as they happen, sign up for that.
Anytime you want to participate with us, because we're doing something through the interwebs.
Through the interwebs. And what else do we have here? Oh, you got another really annoying email this this week. It's hilarious. We get these spam emails from these people, and it says, we were looking at your site and it was really great. We think what you have is amazing. Have you considered adding 3D or animated video to your website? And we're always like, did you go to our website?
3D?
Yeah,
Animated video.
3D.
Let me Google that.
It's so dumb. So what I did was, and this isn't the first time, and I guarantee you it's probably just spam. I did see a because I do the tracking of our emails and stuff. I did see that someone actually read it, which is cool. But no, I just did the mocking SpongeBob meme.
Yeah.
You know, saying, "Oh, I think you should add 3D or animate," and I just sent that back to him.
Yeah, that'll be the show artwork today. I've got a screenshot of it, so it's just
funny.
Hilarious. And some other minor things of the week before we get into the topics. The faux res, as they call it, which is ProRes on PC, which isn't technically Apple licensed ProRes. It's what is it called? Myriazon ProRes or whatever.
I don't know.
I had an issue with it this week, and I thought maybe other people should check this out and make sure they don't have the same issue, because I was delivering something with an alpha channel with with ProRes 444, and they were getting these weird black lines in the alpha channel all around it. So the solution was I went to DNX HD with alpha. Problem solved. But I just wanted to put that out there. Make sure you check those alpha channels if you're using ProRes.
And if you now, for those who are willing to spend the money on an actual Windows solution, you can buy
Fusion.
Fusion. So Fusion 9 Pro actually has a legit version of ProRes in it. So that's an option.
Talking about Fusion, I saw Rich Nosworthy's video, and like everyone, I've downloaded every single version since it was free. Never actually used it, and gave it about 15-20 minutes, and I'm blown away.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Nothing else to say.
Huh. See. I downloaded the free version the other day, and for me it was open up. I have no idea what I'm doing, and close it down.
Did you watch Rich's video?
I have not, but I will.
Please do, because Rich is a typical, traditional, very talented motion graphic artist. And the way he approaches it is by giving solutions about the problems you have as artists doing something. And it's amazing because he covers in like 45 minutes or something, or even less, the major things. You can just get up and running when you watch this video.
Is that the quick start for Blackmagic Fusion?
Yes. I mean,
okay, cool.
I think it's the only video he's he's made on
Yeah,
Fusion.
I found it on Lester Banks' website.
Yeah,
Here,
exactly.
I'll throw it over to you, Dave, so you can put in the dingus.
Yeah. I think it's a very good investment of your time, even if you're not going to use Fusion. It's very well worth watching the video just to get an idea of how it works. Fantastic.
Other topics for today would be, oh, by the way, I wanted to say that the DFW C4D videos are starting to roll out. We put out the first one from the presentation last Friday, I believe. And so we're going to have the other ones coming out just in order that they presented. So we're going to go EJ, and then it'll be the EJ David interview, and then we'll have Mitch. I'm going to try and get all of those out, assuming that I can actually get taxes done this week, you know. But
well, we have to have taxes done this week.
I know. So, because we have been getting questions about that. Ricardo Salazar, he says, greetings from Portugal, and when will the presentations be online? So, yes, those will be out shortly. Also, as far as live streams are concerned, we will have the regular Thursday live stream, Redshift Thursday.
Cool.
I am thinking about, I'm going to stream somewhere in there. But I'm thinking maybe we'll do a double whammy Thursday, and I'll go live after Liam.
Oh,
or
that'll
maybe
be
before.
Late.
I don't know. We'll see. So you and I, Matt, we're working on a new logo for our company, and so I'm just going to try and live stream that as it goes through the next couple of weeks. So if you missed the Redshift Thursday live stream last Thursday, go back and check out the archive, because Liam and Billy were both on, and Billy was showing off his wheel and race car, like racing wheel, which was really cool looking, and like kind of talking about the texturing and everything on that. Very, very cool. And I think that they're going to continue to do that kind of like interview style, collaborative type thing. And maybe not necessarily the two of them, but Liam and some other people as well, or back and forth. And then lastly, on the week wrap-up stuff, Real Flow for Cinema4D.
Gosh.
Oh, my goodness.
So, okay, so we've got a license of just the version 1 version of Real Flow. We bought it when it first came out, though, the one for C4D. And so apparently, I think I hate locked nodes, you know, licenses. I think they're really stupid. I think every license that you buy should be floating wherever you are, because if I've got 3 computers and I want to render it on one computer and then keep working on another, you know, I shouldn't be limited like that. Or at least they should associate it with your C4D license. They don't. They license it according to your MAC address, which sucks. So
Becomes
like
so problematic.
Yeah. So I had it on my old, you know, Octane PC, which is not my new one. And I wanted to switch it over to my new one. And so you have to do a support thing first, and then they send you an email asking you to fill out an entire document and sign it where you're changing the host ID, which is dumb. It's like just
and everything.
Yeah, it's like, just let me change it physically in the support stuff.
So let me fix that for everyone. Okay.
Okay.
It has never been shown that the harder it is to crack a program will make people buy it. Okay, so developers, right? Listen to this. I've been using digital software since I would say the mid 80s. Okay, with the first commercial one being Adobe Illustrator 1, 1987.
Nice.
Around November. Okay, so what I'll give you an example with Adobe. Adobe never had locked software. Even now with the cloud, it's different. What that became for them, they became the biggest company in graphic design. Because, we have to face it. Anyone that is going to buy it because they're going to do work with it is going to buy it. Anyone that is not going to buy it and is going to pirate it is going to pirate it, regardless of how much how much you're going to lock it down, MAC addresses, and all that. And I've heard of situations. I think it was back in the Softimage era where the whole licensing thing was complicated sometimes, and it had a dongle and all that.
Yeah,
so
I hate the dongles.
People would buy the software when it cost $15,000, and then they would find a cracked version or something like that to use it as their production version because it was less finicky than the actual locked version. So understand this. Read the statistics. Honestly, read the statistics. If we add up the hours that legitimate users waste trying to get FlexLM, this and that, and all that rubbish to work, that amount of time, which is money you're stealing from your clients because they're not working, they're trying to get it to work, that's the maximum amount of money you're going to lose.
Yeah.
Okay? And you're not going to lose any money. Anyone that cannot crack a software, they will not use it. They will not go and buy it. I mean, but for people making such incredible software, these people are geniuses, okay? If they can't understand that fundamental principle, then I don't know what they can understand.
Yeah.
They're just doing their clients a disservice. So Next Limit, Autodesk, I don't know, Max and this and that, everyone, just read the statistics.
Yeah.
And if you find any proof that locking software will make people pay for it, then do it. But I don't think you're going to find that.
See, I've been playing around with Arnold a lot over the past week. I don't know. So anyway, I've been playing around with Arnold because I feel like I want to learn it, and I've been messing with it a lot. And one thing that I like about the trial of Arnold is that it just throws that watermark once your trial's up. It's like that doesn't limit me to what I can and can't learn with it, and so like I am still able to use the software and stuff like that without having to go through all that nonsense.
Oh yeah, that's great. Like indie versions, Apprentice, and all that demo version. I mean, Maxon has 42 days. You know why it's 42 days? Yeah, everyone knows that. Yeah.
So anyway, you bring up a good point.
No, you know why it's 42 days, I'm saying.
Why? Because that's how long it'll take you to do the project and get your invoice paid?
No.
No, I don't know. Oh, 42, because that's the number. That's the
secret of the universe?
That's the secret of the
there
universe.
You go.
Okay. Ding, ding, ding. Where's the bell?
Exactly. That's the reason.
Wow.
Yes.
So
That's funny.
No, it's just
life.
it was super annoying that I had to go through all this rigmarole in order to actually get my RealFlow license. Literally, I started this process a week ago, and just now today. So then we get the email back, because I sent the email, but since it was registered under Dave's email address, I had to have Dave send the email because otherwise they wouldn't accept it. So I had Dave sent the email.
Both of our names are on some of it.
Right.
And we have like the email address from the same company. It's
so dumb.
It's like, what if that person didn't work there anymore?
Right.
The email address didn't exist anymore.
Right.
Then what?
Well, that shows the lack of foresight about these things. It's just bureaucracy. I do understand some companies have to answer to shareholders. So, sometimes things are more complicated. But we have to understand that the client is the most valuable asset. If you're alienating your clients, then you're not doing yourself a service. That's it. Then someone else is going to pop up and steal your client base.
Absolutely.
It's as simple as that.
I'll
and there
totally
are technical issues with, I remember I was testing I bought some software a long time ago. I don't want to say names and all that. And because my Mac Pro, cheese grated, 2010, has 2 Ethernet cards, depending on the situation, it switches the MAC address from one to the other. So they were kind enough to provide me with 2 actual licenses, one for each if it didn't work. Because that shows good customer service. They solve your problem without thinking of, whatever, maybe he's lying, maybe he's not, we're not going to risk it. That's the whole thing. And funny enough, I never used that software. I just bought it because I liked it. I collect software sometimes.
You're like us. We collect software.
I'm the same way though when it comes to certain things. I gotta say, like, I'm guilty of doing that thing where you buy a piece of software and it's just so hard to do the licensing that you just get your other copy, your special copy. But it's like you paid for it, so you don't feel guilty about it.
I didn't do it.
It's just too much trouble.
I didn't stop using it because it was difficult. It's just that I buy software, I like it, but I have no particular use for it. Sometimes it depends on the developer. I will buy a software because I think that what he's doing is good for the general, Cinema4D user base. And you can have like 50, 100, 250 bucks lying around. If you look behind the curtain, there's like stacks of of dust. But anyway, so the thing is that sometimes you see a developer there, and this is my general advice. Sometimes you may not be sure you need something, but it's, if you think you can spare yourself a couple of coffees a week, and and you can pay for a piece of software in a matter of 3 months, do it, because down the line it's going to benefit you. Someone's going to come up with a tool that you can utilize and do something even better than what you want.
For sure.
So it's that's one of the things I like about the Cinema4D community as well.
We just had Rick Bogus on the chat said, I'd like to send a huge thanks to Thanasis for his cinema dynamics training on lynda.com. For me, it's the best resource for learning dynamics.
I know. Oh, thank you. I meant. Yeah, thanks.
That's
it
funny.
was, I think my first on lynda.com. Yeah.
So,
I'm glad it's still relevant. Yes.
Yes.
Whether it was a good tutorial or a lack of updates from Max's side, did I say? Can you cut that from the final edit?
Marker.
No, please.
The other thing I wanted to bring up, I don't know if you've seen this yet. The dynamic connector, CV dynamic connector preview that came out. On Cineversity.
Okay, guys, can I need to interject. It's very, very important, okay?
Okay.
People do not understand how much value the MSA with the addition of Cineversity Premium adds their toolbox.
Yeah.
Donovan Keith, Rick Barrett, and a host of other people are making tools and presets and so forth. I mean, Donovan is a good friend as well. Rick, and they make these fantastic workflow plugins. I think $2 or $3 each, or something like $15 each, is worth your MSA. If you, it's amazing. Just go and check out the list. Go and check out CV Toolbox on Cineversity.com and do yourselves a favor. Get an MSA and get it over with. Stop waiting. If you cannot make someone makes a good, an average motion graphics artist makes about $60 an hour if they undercharge. Okay, let's assume you make $30 an hour. Right, at $600, that's 20 hours if my math is not good. If you cannot make 20 hours work towards your software update, you need to reconsider your business model seriously. It's one of those business decisions. I'm not anyone to talk about any person's pocket, okay? But I think it saves a lot of hassle, a lot of time, and the benefits with Cineversity are absolutely huge, especially with the toolbox.
Totally agree. And I mean, you get the upgrade every year, so not only do you get all those tools and everything, but you basically get a new license. And that's always useful for me, because if I'll be running R19 on one computer, R18 on another computer, R17 on another computer, and I'll be able to render all this same stuff all at once, as long as I'm not limited by some of the newer tools.
Are you allowed to do that?
Am I? I think I am, aren't I?
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe so.
I don't know. Anyway, but the biggest benefit with Cineversity is, how much do sleeping pills cost? You just put one of my videos without just listen to my voice, and you're down in 15 minutes.
That's true. That is very true.
No chemicals or anything like that. You can see weird dreams though, but that's another story. I think that's worth the upgrade. And the MSA, sorry, the MSA.
So this preview here is something Donovan posted at the CV Dynamic Connector. It looks pretty cool. So I'll post a link in the show notes. Check that out. I don't know when this is. Is this out yet officially, or is this something coming soon? No,
it's out. It's out. It works 100%. So basically what it does is it takes the already inbuilt functionality of our connectors with a dynamic system, but you don't actually need to create these connectors yourself. You create a MoGraph setup with, let's say, 150 clones, a chain. Imagine a chain, and it will go automatically, and under the hood, put connectors between each object, and you can make tank trucks, you can make necklaces, you can make chains, you can make all sorts of things, and you can use any connector, and it has a lot of different attributes you can change, and it's absolutely amazing. Something that would take someone 20 minutes to set up by making 100 different connectors and putting them together and so forth. Now it will take you about, I would say, 3 seconds and 0.25. 3 seconds.
I'm going to have to play with that for sure.
0.26.
Yeah.
But now it said it was made with release 19 and it works with 19 and greater. It's only available for 19 or 19?
So always take that with a grain of salt. Because Donovan develops these, it depends on how the API has changed from a previous version to the next version. So although the functionality of connectors hasn't changed, and in theory you could do that, with every release, Maxon adds more functionality to the Python and C++ SDK. And there's a good chance that Donovan always uses the latest and most modern of the technologies. So you can always test it. You can always test it, but or take that with a grain of salt. And especially with tutorials, when they say for release 19, again, it was made with release 19, but sometimes the whole tutorial can be done in 17, 16, even further back. Yeah.
You know what? I've got a great question for you right now because I don't have this in the notes. And this is something that kind of came up, I think, in the middle of last week. There's this word going around about the architecture changes that are happening in R20. Do you know anything about how that affects plugin developers?
Okay, the best
offhand
post about this, because I'm not a developer. I'm a copy paste spaghetti coder.
Right.
If you write it, I know what to copy and paste. Okay, so Bjorn Marl, aka Srek SREK on CG Society, replying to a post, gave the most concise answer. There were complaints by there was a complaint, actually a public complaint by a long-standing amazing developer, and he claimed that it was extremely difficult for him to port his plugins in the new SDK. And this is a discussion we had internally at Maxon Beta and all that. And it seems to be the following thing. Some plugins don't need any rewriting.
Okay.
And we're talking about C++, not Python. So Nitroman's plugins, which are all Python plugins, don't need to be touched. They all work. No problem at all. Okay. But when we're talking about C++ plugins, the best case scenario is that you open your already existing source code and you recompile it using the new SDK. So there's a good chance that a lot of these plugins don't even need a single digit to change on the code. They just have to recompile. But all C++ plugins need a recompile. There's no exception.
Okay.
The binaries do not work. The DLLs and all that, whatever that is. I'm just making up words now. So, and then from that point onwards, depending on how much a developer has followed Maxon suggestions every year to update their code, because every year some changes are made in the Maxon SDK. It always gets better, and they add more libraries and all that. These are the things that people don't really know, only developers know. But if some developer left their code for the last 7-8 years and it just happened to work up to version 19, that developer may need a few hours work to change a few things. Now, what Maxon says definitely is that it doesn't mean that the whole thing needs a rewrite. If you have, we had a comment about from someone that says, I think he adjusted 6,000 lines of code, 60,000 lines of code, but it was a 6 and some zeros lines of code.
Basically in a day?
In a matter, something like that.
Yeah. I'm actually on the CG Society one that you just mentioned.
Is that 6,000 or 60,000?
60,000.
60,000.
Yeah.
60,000.
60,000 lines of code.
Again, you have to take this with a grain of salt, but overall Maxon says, no, there is some effort that needs to be put in, but it can be from extremely minimal to medium. But every case is different. Let's just not, let's just not hear the extreme cases and believe that they are part of the mainstream.
That is not a blanket problem across all plugins.
Yeah. And don't forget, guys, you can always contact your local distributor where you got. I mean, the tech support will always, and customer service will always explain what's going on. And talk to your plugin developers. Tell them, if you have any plugins, ask them, are we going to receive our updates with R20? Do we have to wait for a few months? What's the situation? Do you want to, and always apply for beta testing. That's another thing that people don't know. If you have a favorite plugin and if you have time to spend, right, it's a really, really nasty thing to think I'm going to sign up for beta just to get something for free. Okay, that's unethical.
Yeah.
It's not illegal, but it's, in my view, it's unethical. But if you have some time to spare and you want to participate in creating a better product for yourself and your colleagues, talk to the plugin developers, ask them if they need help, and provide feedback. Always provide feedback to everyone.
Yeah.
Except me if it's bad. No need, praise. I only accept praises.
The French Monkey said that the comment has passed, so I lost it. I don't know if you have the chat up, Matt.
I do.
The French Monkey was saying, Noseman, if you're in Athens, if you're ever in Athens, you need to meet up for a beer with him and
Tony Zagareos. Tony Zagareos.
Yeah.
And Phil Raid Zero also said he wants to make a Python plugin for Cinema4D that just auto posts to Instagram and Twitter, render and post.
Actually, someone had posted this on the Houdini Slack channel that someone made a Houdini node that would render it and post it to both Twitter and Instagram.
Now, see, I have a better idea than that. I think I think Houdini could pull this off, which is you make a script in there that generates random garbage geometry and puts random shininess on all of it and auto posts it to Instagram every single day. Just an auto daily maker.
So it's like a rando render, only it actually does the render for you.
All the work for you.
All right.
Yeah.
And why
I'm looking at you, Houdini Mark.
No, wait. Why do you think that's not possible in Cinema4D?
Oh, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is.
Oh, someone froze. Okay, I thought it was just because.
No, that was Dave.
No.
If you
He's
want
just
that,
thinking, he's trying to think how to do it, right? Because I think if
I'm
you're
going to drop. Okay, guys, I'm going to tell Maxon to drop all development, all the new stuff they're creating to create the plugin you just requested. That's it. Then we just make a phone call. So if anything happens in our 20 and you only have a Instagram poster of random shiny things, you know whose fault it is. Okay.
So so let's see. So it automatically creates like a plane. Right. Okay. So it starts you with a plane.
No, not a plane. It needs to start with
landscape.
Landscape.
Okay. So it starts with the landscape, and then it takes. Geez. It takes
a random seed.
A random
seed.
No, it picks one of the random noises, right? And then uses that for a displacement map that is thrown onto the landscape, and then it takes it creates either a sphere, a torus, or a cube. Right, and makes that an emission texture, and puts that in the center, right, and then that's it.
And then you need Python to auto post.
Right. Easy enough, cake, dude.
Yeah,
okay, Maxon, stop development, please, all developers.
Stop the presses. I hope they already didn't do the gold master already.
You know what? If I got nothing going on tomorrow, I'm gonna make it.
There you go.
Oh, there you go, Maxon. You can resume now.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Oh man, that's funny.
Yeah.
Another quick note here, real quick. I just wanted to talk about this because I guess this just came out this morning. Adobe announced they're increasing their monthly subscription price by $3 to $52.99.
That was the first email I read today.
Yeah.
Thanks, Obama. I guess $3 isn't too bad, but the thing is that over time it's $3, $3, and all of a sudden we're going to be paying $100 a month. I guarantee.
Yeah, maybe.
They still can't get RAM preview right.
No.
The other thing I wanted to mention is that the official 3.08 for Octane came out. Oh, by the way, we're in Ravcock. What's your flavor? So, in render engines, Otoy 3.08 released. Now, is this 3.08 for Cinema that was released, or is it just the
I think it was just
full version
Cinema
standalone?
I mean, you've got standalone as well, I believe. Standalone and C4D were released.
So it did break our plugin quite a bit, which we knew that was coming, but we were waiting for the full version. And so we are working on fixing our plugin. So everybody that has purchased that will get an update email to get the new version. So that's it there. Now, I wanted to get to the topics of the day, finally. we always take like an hour and a half or something to do like the week, and then we finally get into the show like once we're, I don't know, about an hour in. And knows, man, this is your idea, which is taking time for yourself, right?
No, procrastination has nothing to do with yourself.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
so we're talking about procrastination, or
no, procrastination. Of course, it has everything to do with yourself, but you say it that way, so it doesn't seem that it's egotistic. It's part of the whole process.
Okay.
I want to make a tutorial about the fine art of procrastination, because it affects everyone in your life.
You want to do it, you just haven't gotten to it yet.
No, you have to do it. Oh, the tutorial, you mean?
Yeah, the tutorial.
Oh yeah. I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Which is, you get it.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to talk about procrastination. Yeah.
We'll talk about it tomorrow. Anyway.
Oh, I thought someone had frozen.
I think Dave froze.
Oh, there he is.
Dave, you there?
Yeah, if you want to ask, if you want
Right.
me to make a very small introduction,
Well,
tell me. Well,
so
otherwise,
No,
what's-
you
what's the-
glitched a little bit. I just thought you were procrastinating, but
No.
it was just a Skype glitch.
What's the so procrastination as far as like putting off work or putting off personal work or all of the above?
Oh, everything. I think procrastination is something which is a big part of our character. And I think that a lot of people have, looked down on procrastination. But in fact, the way I see it is that because people work under different stress levels and different times. So, other people work better with the deadlines. Other people work better without deadlines. Other people are structured and they can work methodically. Basically, I can only work well if I'm in a panic. So, procrastination leads you, when, like I have 4 weeks to do something. Like 4 weeks, that's a joke. I can do that in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But at the 2-week mark, when you realize that you need to start working, you're like, yeah, but now because I've thought about it for at least 2 weeks, I know how to do it in a week.
Yeah.
And, if you divide something by half all the time, you never reach
hit
zero. So there's always
So if
some
you had
time to
actually
do it.
like put it off, procrastinated another week, you could have gotten it done in half a week, right?
No, and that's what happens. I think that you have to divide it a few times. Anyway, you have to be quite confident at the same time. And of course, you shouldn't do that if you know that they're going to give you an extension, because then that's cheating. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
It's cheating. Whereas if you do get the extension after all, which you should ask when you realize that you cannot actually do it in the given time,
Right.
that's a different story.
Right.
So the whole art of procrastination is to find a very good excuse for not doing it at the current moment. Okay, I think that's the simple rule of thumb. So yeah, I'm not going to start today because and just add anything you want there.
Yeah,
because reasons.
Yeah, but you have to be specific. See,
Yeah.
that is wrong. You have to be very specific because I haven't cleaned my my I don't know, whatever, my refrigerator for 6 months. Yeah. So you're like, that's very important. But what happens is that when you say, okay, I can't work now, I need to clean my refrigerator, because you infuse that thought into your own mind, then you can procrastinate on that. So you go and look at the refrigerator and you're like, okay, what do I need? So you close the refrigerator, do something else until your brain, it works. And you can do that constant, postponing procrastination forever.
Well, I read somewhere, and that when you, and this goes back to like, just taking a break from what you're doing. If you've got like a difficult problem or something that you're trying to overcome. This happens to me a lot when I'm working in Espresso and I'm trying to figure out what the exact good, correct node way of doing something is. Stepping away from it, or even procrastinating for a little bit, even though you're not thinking about it directly, subconsciously, it's still going in your mind, and it's still trying to figure out that problem. And because
I separate
of that,
these two processes. I separate them. For me, it's two different things. Procrastination is a way of life, whereas what you're talking about is a very, very good method when you find that your brain is stuck. Because I was reading in this book that when you have in order to have a new idea, in order to be inspiring, for your brain to be more creative, your brain needs to be under very specific condition. They talk about alpha waves or something like that. I'm not really sure where that is, but that's why sometimes when you walk away, the idea comes because you're not pushing yourself to do something very particular. Our work relies both parts of our brain because one is practical, it's muscle memory, it's putting things together, and the other one is imagination, the part that I lack there, 100% of. So I work with half a brain, so I don't have those problems. But overall, the problem is that when these things are working together, you get a lot of conflicts. You need to allow one and the other to work on their own, in their own comfort, in their own time. Our brain is not that much multitasking as we think, especially men are less able to do multiple functions at the same time. In that respect, women are like totally like a million years more evolved than us. But that means you need to give that particular part of your brain the time. But procrastination has nothing to do with that. Procrastination is just finding a good excuse not to do something today because basically you're lazy and you've managed to get away with it one too many times.
Right.
But what you say is very, very important. Even one of the best, I would tell you the best advice I was ever given when I started working with these things in the 80s was every 15 to 20 minutes, look away and far. Make sure if you have a window, look as far as you can in the horizon for a few seconds. Okay. Number one, your eyes won't strain that much, and suddenly your brain is going to work much clearer. If you work in a basement like me, just walk outside. Just change something, and that will change your pattern of thought and all that. Being persisting too much on something sometimes has negative effects.
I can see that.
On your creativity, yeah.
Bo Jackson in the chat says, "The War of Art" is a great book on this topic. French Monkey agrees.
Yeah, I downloaded it. I haven't actually read it. I remember Ash Thorpe mentioned that to people when they were doing their podcast a year or so ago. It's a good subject. Good book.
Yeah, I've heard of the book. Yeah, it's on my to buy list. Not to read, to buy. I just buy books. I don't read them.
Yeah.
You got to procrastinate on that too.
I do open them so people see that they're being used.
Right, you got to just bend back the spine so that you get those good creases.
You have to do it properly. People are not dumb. You have to do it properly. It can't look too artificial.
Right.
Yeah. And maybe I'll start a blog about all these little ways to hoodwink people into believing that you're a better person than you actually are.
Well, there you go.
It works for me. People think I'm talented.
I'll read that
when
blog.
you get a new hat, you've got to kind of wear it out before you wear it.
Right.
You run over it with the car, something like that, make it look a little worn, shove it under a cabinet or something, make it fold in half and beat it up, and then never wear it.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Give it to other people to wear so it assumes odors from different heads. That makes it more,
That's funny.
My old boss actually used to have a great statement that applies to this topic, which is, well, nothing improves performance like the last second.
Yeah.
And when you're working in a live environment, it's actually true because there is no procrastination when it comes to the time the show starts. But you're working, you go into a place, you're loading in, you're spending like 5 days doing a rehearsal, and then that last day, everybody's like doing all the last minute stuff, right before the show starts, the live show starts in order to get it ready to go, and all the little things that they forgot about. And the closer you get to that point, the faster and better everybody works.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't know. Like me personally, when I'm more of a, okay, so this probably goes back. I worked for Domino's Pizza for a really long time, and like I would work really, really hard in the morning, getting all my prep done and folding boxes and doing all this stuff so that I could basically slack off up until it got busy. And that's been kind of my frame of mind. It's like I've got this sense of urgency to get it done immediately as soon as it comes in so that I can basically push off doing anything else. You know, it's almost like I'm planning for procrastination in a way, you know, like I do it immediately. And then, you know, say I've got a job that's that, you know, I've quoted the client maybe a week or something, and it only takes me 2 days. Well, sometimes I don't want them to know that it only took me 2 days because I immediately wanted to do it. So I'll wait.
It never takes you 2 days. It never takes you 2 days. Let's move on.
Right. So anyways, you know, like, I don't know. And sometimes I'll even work late because I want to have those extra days to just kind of like relax or veg or work on some of my own stuff, you know?
Or make it look better.
Right, exactly, you know?
Oh, yeah, that too.
Yeah, that too.
Whoops.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sitting around. I wasn't working on my own stuff. I was making it look better.
Or there's been times where I'll immediately start on it and get to a point in which I know that I can procrastinate for a couple days. You know,
But that's not procrastination. Come on.
It's
You're not a procrastinator. You forget it. Forget it.
okay.
Forget it.
You're probably
No, no.
right. I'm just
No,
too
you're not.
good
You're
at what I do.
structured. Yeah, exactly. You've got structure. You know, you plan things and all that. No, you're not allowed to use that word.
Okay.
Right? No, you can only say the P word. That's it.
All right.
Right. Done.
All right.
I mean, yeah, all you non-procrastinators, like, this is procrastination appropriation here.
Yeah. So okay. Well, explain to me the difference. Like, give me an example.
You don't work. You get to the panic. You know, you sit around. You have an amazingly good excuse, which no one can. You know, and you create this amazing cognitive dissonance about it, where there's no argument that can convince you that you should be a bit more structured. No, what are you talking about? It helps me. It waters my creative juices. It you know. It's, you know, I can't produce if I'm not under pressure. I work well under pressure. It's a big part of my CV. You know, no, you're structured. Yeah,
All right.
just
Well,
perfect.
that goes along with like the next thing I have on the list here, which is, you know, when you're running around and like you're like, oh, I'm so busy, I got this stuff going on. Are you really busy, or have you procrastinated to the point where you're really busy?
Yeah.
And does being quote unquote busy, even if you're not busy, or pretending, oh, I got so much going on, does that make you have a sense of urgency? Does that make you do a better job because you're busy? And I'm doing the air quotes.
I don't know.
Well, you can still. The more you've struggled to do something, the more good you feel about yourself. So, on a serious note, some people, it helps them from a psychological perspective to procrastinate a bit or not do things to begin with, or just fool around in the beginning, because the amount of effort you need to do the same thing in a small amount of time is bigger. You're going to sleep less, you're going to drink more coffee and all that. And because you had to try harder, when the result is the same, you feel better about it, because there's something people learn from a young age, the sense of accomplishment. Okay, and that comes with puzzles, for example. Why do we tell kids like, oh, what a fantastic job? It's that sense of accomplishment. And a lot of people achieve that when they do something harder than the other way. People that do CrossFit and all that, like, kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, you know, going because that's what it is. It's a very hard thing to do, and high level sports people, you know, that's what they do. This gives them a huge sense of accomplishment. So a lot of people do procrastinate or do delay on purpose. When I say on purpose, subconsciously, because the end product gives them more satisfaction, regardless of the fact that it's the same, because they've put more effort into it. Okay. So and it besides the money and everything like that, if you don't get enough satisfaction from your work, you are going to be sad. Okay, it's the sense of accomplishment we get from all the little things we do in life is what keeps us happy people. That's why a lot of people that have been raised without any problems or any sense of accomplishment, and they had everything they wanted, that's why they're so sad, because they haven't developed the sense of feeling happy just by doing simple things. When I drop a glass. I've got very good reflexes. I used to play water polo. I was a goalie, so my reflexes. I've got preemptive reflexes. So if I go like this and I push a cup and it falls down, the minute I touch it, my hand starts reaching down to catch it. So for someone that views me from the side, they're like, "Oh my God, you've got lightning reflexes." But actually, it's not that. It's preemptive because I did it by mistake and I know where it's going, and that's part of my training. But I get a lot of a huge sense of accomplishment for that. Maybe that's why I'm so clumsy, because I like to catch things here and there. Yeah.
That's on purpose.
We shouldn't forget that humans have all these weird things that are attached to our upbringing, our biology, and all that. And we you as artists have more sensitivities. That's why you're so creative, and your brain works in totally different ways. And sometimes the sense of accomplishment or happiness comes from odd places, places which are normally not considered, normal, anything like that. Yeah, and I believe all these little things, procrastinating, doing other things, I don't know, whatever any person does is good as long as the end product gives them happiness. We our profession, I think a large majority of us can claim that we do sort of the dream job. There are not many people. We have to realize how lucky we are in that respect.
Yeah, I totally agree.
A lot of our decisions in life are just about luck. Something appeared. We're not, being raised 5 years old thinking like, I want to be a motion graphic designer. No, that doesn't exist. So we are lucky. We get to the point, and we are some of the very few people on this planet that are actually take huge. Feel huge accomplishment and happiness from what we do for a living. We're lucky in that respect. Anyway, just to tie this whole thing in, that's my spiel for now.
Well, we have a question here from, and I don't know how to pronounce it, Waits One, who says, how do you guys work toward deadlines? And maybe some tips on how to manage those deadlines to make it less stressful. And I think this is kind of related to what we're talking about. So how do you, besides procrastinating, once you get to the last day and you actually have to start the project, the day before it's due, how do you work toward that and not be stressed about it? And actually Troy Aikman's suggestion in that was work as procedurally as possible, and I really liked that comment.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Well, the way I do it, because I haven't been in production for a long time, I do 2 or 3 projects a year just to keep, up to speed. I reject quite a few projects. I do tutorials, as you know. And even with tutorials, we have that. The problem is I don't know if this applies to everyone. I have this unique thing where during my procrastination period, my brain is working towards a solution. Now, that doesn't mean that the solution may not be there already, and I just pretend. Cognitive dissonance is a big thing. The solution may be there, but it can't come out yet, because part of my plan or program or the way I work is for that not to come out anyway until the last minute. But when I sit down to say, and I say it's crunch time, things just flow. And I take huge amounts of time studying my work. So because I like what I do, a big part of procrastinating is doing things which are loosely, I know it's a cheat, but sorry, things loosely connected to what we do. And lately, by a suggestion of one of Maxon developers, there's an amazing book about rendering and RenderMan. I think it's The Art of RenderMan. Now, it was written for RenderMan, but it talks about all these mathematical things like matrices and dot products and cross products and all that. And yeah, I will read a book. It interests me. I'm probably never going to use whatever I read. But for some reason, some of these things maybe sometimes connect in your mind when you're doing something. So for me, it just flows that way. I know when I've never missed a single deadline in my life. I've been servicing clients since I would say the late 80s. I've done freelance from 1988, and since that was my main income.
How did you get?
I've never.
Sorry, I'll let you go. But then I want to ask more questions about that because I want to know more of your background.
Okay. After prison. Okay.
Right.
So, so basically, I've never missed a deadline. So there's this little clock in your mind which tells you that, okay, no more delays. Now you have to work. And I think for me is a certain amount of stress where when my procrastination starts becoming uncomfortable, I want to watch this cat video, and I don't feel nice, cute and fuzzy and all that. I know it's time to start working.
Okay.
So
that makes sense.
I don't. Yeah, it's just something everyone has built in their own self, and it's a different type of alarm. But you need to listen to your brains. You need to listen to your bodies. It's a huge thing to not to ignore what your own body is telling you at every given time when you're working, when you're doing other things, and so forth. And once you get in tune with that, you'll have more time to spend, you'll be more creative, you'll be more productive. And if you're one of those, people like, I'm planning, I'm putting things in order. First I work, then I procrastinate, whatever. You'll find that you can actually work on 2 projects for every one you used to work with the same amount of effort. Okay, that was sarcasm for you.
Well, I feel like because of the holidays slowdown that usually kind of happens around Christmas, I feel like especially this year, I spent a lot less time in front of a computer. And in fact, I want to say like the week after Christmas, I barely sat down in front of a computer at all, and which is very different for me. And then partially into January, the slow ramp back up. And for me, going into February, I felt like I had a much more motivation and just more vigor to just kind of get back into it and just get back down to basics and stuff and things. Doing more daily renders, doing more live streams, things like that. It was kind of my body saying, no, let's kind of take a break from all the computers and junk just a little bit, even if it, but for me, of course, that's like working 8 hours a day instead of 15, but still it was like a very big slowdown for me because I'm like, nerd guy who's always in front of a computer. Yeah. But it felt like it really did help refresh my brain a little bit. Yeah.
That's why I take a lot of vacations. I take a lot of vacations. And even vacations where, I'm still working, but I'm in another place, Like, that's what I enjoy. That's how
Change of scene.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
whatever works.
All right.
Yeah, whatever works for everyone. Everyone has a different way of seeing things, It's good to learn from other colleagues and, fellow artists and so forth, but you essentially have to adapt the way you work to the way your body works. For example, what you see, the dark thing, this is basically the color of my working basement. Everything is painted black because I cannot I can't take shines and distractions. Everyone's like, ooh, this is too dark. Yeah, because the only light I want is from my monitors.
Right.
Other people can't stand this. People feel claustrophobic. I've got 2 very small windows here. I don't even fit to get out if anything happened. Well, the window's not very small. I think I need to go on a diet, but that's another story. Anyway, so we adapt. And what I just said about making the environment fit the way your character is and the way you work is it's essential. Don't make your space, don't design your space so that other people like it. Design it so that you feel comfortable and are inspired by it. That's, and if you're any good at what you do, actually, it's going to be better than trying to cater to other people's liking. Unless there are wives where they know better.
That's why you have to have, your office.
Yes.
Your place, your pad, your man cave, as they call it.
Exactly.
I wanted to go through some links real quick.
Hold on. We're not done.
Wait, I know what you're
all
doing there, but
go ahead.
But
do your thing.
All right. So real quick, some links. Oh, by the way, you were talking about the Rich Nosworthy video. He is going to be on the show in the next couple months.
Nice. Okay.
We've been working on
Fantastic.
that. So Unreal Studio
Mm-hmm.
came out. Did you see that? That's kind of interesting.
Saw a link for it.
Eyeing that. It's like it brings in 3D Max files. I wish it would bring in Cinema, but texturing and stuff like that. I guess it's going to be good for architecture and things. So I don't know too much about it, but I was watching some of their demo videos and thought I'd put a link in the show notes for that, because these Cinema4D people are a lot of them interested in very similar things such as Unreal and VR, and so I think that's going to be something cool for people who do a lot of architectural design. To be able to take their 3D Max renders, bring them into Unreal, and do like real-time walkthroughs and things like that.
So actually, I was part of the Datasmith beta program, because they are working, as they say, on a Cinema4D solution, but we haven't seen anything yet. Although there is a solution, I don't know if you saw it on Cineversity, there's a solution from Cinema4D, there's a plugin that has been developed to connect with Unreal Engine. Have you checked it out?
Unreal?
Huh, I didn't know that.
Oh, really?
I'll have to check that out.
I didn't reach you. That's like a couple of weeks worth of news. Yeah, so Maxon collaborated with a company, Maxon US collaborated with a company, and now there's a plugin available on Cineversity, and I may be free, I'm not absolutely sure, that allows you to save out files directly from Cinema4D. And it's a sort of a live link. After you do the link, you can change things in Cinema4D, and they automatically change in Unreal. So go and check it out. Get the link and show it. As far as Datasmith, which is basically the precursor it's part of the technology that Unreal Studio has. Unreal Studio, 3D Studio Max is the DCC that's supported, but they actually support CAD files. And so they have a plethora of CAD files, IGES files, step files, and all that, which they can open now in Unreal Engine. And for the first time since the Unreal Engine came out, now there's a monthly fee to it. So it used to be revenue-based, so it was free, but now you can buy Unreal Studio with a monthly subscription, and it's for visualization purposes. So what they're doing, they're creating sort of a DCC application. You can do a bit of modeling, not too much yet and all that, but you have the fantastic render of Unreal Engine, and it's connected to your with a DCC, 3D Studio Max, or your CAD files. The way I see it is that DCC apps better get their act together, because if these guys manage to build a proper, tool set for modeling and so forth, they're gonna start getting pieces of the market from the major companies, because the render is absolutely stunning, fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, the Sage and I we did our VR meetup yesterday, and Sage and I were sitting around a virtual campfire roasting marshmallows, and we were getting into a conversation about moving between Cinema4D and Unity, which I haven't done too much with it, but obviously he has, and it's a workflow of FBXs. And using the Cineversity plugin that takes individual nulls and saves each one as an FBX, so that you don't have to re-import your entire scene. But the thing we were talking about is the fact that even if it says it imports these scenes natively, such as Unity importing Cinema4D, in the background apparently it's just converting them to FBX anyway. So is there an advantage to working that way, or is native FBX just a better option?
Well, in my view, I'm sort of an old school purist when it comes to these things. Sometimes I prefer to do the transformation process, the intermediate process by hand. Although in theory, when you have some sort of link, things happen faster. We have to admit that anything the computer does for you, you do lose a certain amount of control over it. So coming from the old days of page layouts and ready, set, go, and InDesign and all that, where you save your image and then whatever you've done gets linked back, but what you do to the image is the final thing you've done. I just prefer that method. When I'm creating a setup, I make a copy of my procedural object, I make sure the topology is exactly as I want it, and my UVs are exactly what they are, and I export that, because I made it, I know exactly what it is, I'm knowledgeable enough not to make mistakes, or to correct them after, or to sit around and find them out and then correct them. But anyhow, but I have full responsibility. I think it's because I'm a control freak as well. So I want most of the stuff to go out through my hands. So, and you do learn when you start playing with other 3D applications, like I was involved with Houdini for a while and so forth. What you do realize is that we are spoilt by Cinema4D's procedural workflow. That we don't bake down, we don't make things editable. We accept them to work the way they do, because in most cases they do. Once you start baking things down, freezing them, making a copy, current state to object and so forth, and have different iterations, suddenly you realize you have a different level of control. And if you want to make it again, you just make it again and just repeat the minor process you've done. But for most things, that has become my process. So when it comes to Unity stuff, I did last year. I did something that involved Unity for a company, Vessel Studios. For it was a big pharma thing. VR. It was 360 stereo, and it had a Unity menu and so forth. So I had to do the models and all that. And that was my process. I took my models, I bent them, I created my menu screen exactly as I wanted it. I UV mapped it so I didn't have any distortions and all that. I exported it. I realized there was an issue. I went back, fixed the UV, re-exported it. These are minutes every time. These are minutes. These are not hours. And I'd rather know where the mistake is when it's in front of me, rather than it's hidden behind a procedural object, which I didn't realize capped this and did that and whatnot. So that is my rule of thumb is sometimes you spend a little bit more time, but the control you have will save you a huge amount of trouble. So yeah, FBX all the way. FBX all the way for Unity.
And the name of that plugin is CV Smart Export.
Yes.
By the way, for anybody who's interested in
fantastic work.
It's really great.
I think Rick Barrett, that's Rick Barrett's work. Yeah, he's a genius.
I mean, the thing is, when you open up Unity and let's say...
his head should have been this big if it was if the volume was relative to the amount of brain power this guy has. Honestly, he would be like that. I'm not joking.
Max on Rick.
Max on Rick.
One of the smartest and nicest people I know.
That is for sure.
I think what's so great about that plugin is the fact that when you're using something like Unity, if you're bringing in a Cinema4D file and it has everything in the scene, there's a lot of updating that has to be had, and or even if you have FBXs in a huge scene, there's a lot of updating that has to be had. But if you can divide that into separate nulls of different areas or different objects, and each one is an individual FBX, then whenever you switch back to Unity, there's not as much refreshing going on, and that's what makes it a really great tool.
I guess I don't know.
And the other thing in the links I wanted to go over were EJ's School of Motion.
Yeah. Cinema4D Bootcamp.
It has begun, so we'll have a link to that in the show notes. Well, make sure you check that
when
out.
When is the official sign up?
I'm not sure, but they've put all the info out there, and they're gonna have like some mini podcasts to go along with that and everything. So make sure you check that out. And then the talk that EJ and David did together is kind of a similar precursor to the podcast that they did together for this. So that'll be released this week.
Cinema4D Basecamp. Hold on. The registration opens March 19th. So next week, next Monday, if you're looking to get into that, learning from the master himself, EJ Hassenfratz, then that's when you'll need to sign up. And from what I've heard, there's a lot of people. This thing's going to go fast. Like, there are people who already have like their alarms set for signing up. So just be aware.
Nice.
I think that they were trying
That's
to
awesome.
book the Maracana in Rio, 80,000, 120,000 people. Yeah. And they said no, because EJ is going to create a riot. So, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's right.
No, EJ is like, it's funny. I'm so lucky that I know a lot of the people more on a personal level than from a professional level. So, and I've done my road trip with EJ, and we hang out and so forth. And he's like the most lovely person. You know, great to hang out. Extremely funny, extremely bright, and he's a beer connoisseur. Yeah,
Yes.
if you're ever in
is.
an environment where after Q&A, whatever, and EJ is speaking and they're going to a pub or something, don't you dare miss it. You know, go have a few beers.
Oh,
he
yeah.
loves beer. He knows his beer. You know, he's a beer connoisseur. You know,
Yep.
so above all the other talents, he's got that as well. Like,
I think he keeps track of every beer that he's ever drank on this app. When he was in town, I think he was up to like 7,000 beers.
Oh man.
But he's not an alcoholic. They
No,
just have
not even-
he
not
just
even-
has small little
yeah.
samples.
if
Yeah.
there is a beer connoisseur, it's EJ. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
and he's not a
super
he's
nice
not a
guy. That's why
procrastinator.
we always bring him out to DFWC4D,
Yeah, he's not.
just so we can hang out,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, and have some sour beers or something.
Yeah, he was the one to introduce him to me. I had no idea that
Yeah.
this thing exists.
I-
I
me
would
too.
think
Yeah.
it was beer that was off or something. Yeah, and it was like, oh my god, that's so
Yeah.
refreshing.
That's funny.
Yeah. Let's do a little VR corner real quick, and then we're gonna talk about some of your background after that. So the main thing in VR this week is that Oculus Rifts, plural, across the world stopped working. All of them.
Yes.
All of them. Did you hear about this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So this is a rather annoying problem. Number one, because what if this company went out of business and their certificates on something expired, then everybody's hardware would be rendered useless. This is a really big issue this is Facebook we're talking about. And it was incredibly annoying because all of a sudden everything didn't work. The only fix you could do is to reset your computer, change your date, try and get it to temporarily work. It was kind of a deal where you're stuck because you can't even open the software to try and do an update.
Yeah, but
so you have
for
to have
how
a
long?
patch.
For how long? Like a day or two?
Right, but how many people are developers that are using those helmets?
Well,
that is a big deal.
I will give you that. I'll give you that. But for the average Joe who is just, it was a minor inconvenience for me. And the $15 credit that they gave, that more than makes up for it for me.
Well, tell that to Liam, who ran the patch, and it deleted every single game he had,
that's probably
including all
true.
the save data.
That's true.
I've got wait, guys,
and-
backup.
Yeah.
Backup.
Right?
I have. All right, I'm not going to turn my camera. So I back up daily and sometimes multiple times a day.
Jeez.
And I have my main hard disk, which I'm working on. Okay, my live, which is a 1 terabyte SSD, which is going to explode one of these days. And then I have 3 internal 2 terabyte disks in my Mac. One is a copy of my working hard disk. So if my disk goes pop tomorrow or now, I can restart having lost 2 hours worth of whatever I'm doing. Okay?
Right.
The other 2, I make a backup of everything I'm working on. And then I have a 4 terabyte USB Quadra something lassie, an old one, which has, I think it's a RAID, whatever that RAID is, where it writes on 2 disks. One is parity, and there's one waiting if the thing crashes. So I have a redundancy backup, which is my 3rd backup. Okay, so I've never ever lost anything more than a couple of hours work, and that was irritating.
Yeah.
So no, spare me the thing. If you lose your games, that means they're not important enough to have a backup on.
See, I put all my.
Well, that's
I actually
true.
put
I don't
all
even
my
know
games.
how to save that stuff.
I put a lot of my games on Dropbox. Like I will run it from my Dropbox folder.
Okay,
cool. That's where I put all my games.
Yeah, there you go.
And a question that would come up too is that, like, what if you restore back to that point and then you do your patch again and it just deletes it again? You get caught kind of like I am in these Windows updates where it fails to update, it restores back to where it was, and then it says, oh, well, you haven't updated, so let me update. And then it fails, and then it resets back, and you get caught in this loop of...
Number 1, turn off all your automatic updates on Windows. Okay, I take no responsibility for viruses and all that, but get a good antivirus software, get a good antivirus, and you're good to go. And don't play games on your working computer. or get a Mac,
Yeah.
or get a Mac and stop playing games. Full stop. You know,
Yeah.
get a
can't play games on
PlayStation or
Mac.
one of those Xboxy thingies, or an Atari. Atari play Pong. Bing, boom,
Right.
bing. You know, you can have hours and hours of fun just watching a thing going bing, boom, bing, boom.
I don't know. PC Master Race all
Yeah.
the way, man.
Yeah. Anyway, the whole Oculus thing, it makes me laugh because the people that are complaining, which are developers, are the people that make software that sometimes creates the same problems for their user base. So sometimes something like that is a wake-up call. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work. But when, as a developer, you suffer from something like that because someone else is developing the technology you're working on, it should be, wait a minute, let's make sure we don't do the same thing to our clients. But unfortunately, humans have a very short memory. So, yeah. Oh, release it. Whatever state, we'll patch it. But anyway, I mean,
Right.
really, are people so connected to their VR devices that they couldn't live like 4 hours without it? I think that their biggest problem isn't that. Their biggest problem, they need to save for help, professional help. Yeah, come on,
Well,
guys. I mean,
it is a little nuisance. My daughters, I had to like log in remotely and try and fix hers, and that was a big pain. And it wasn't, she's a kid, so she was rather distraught.
she should listen to Daddy when Daddy says, "Take it easy, go for a walk, play with a balloon." Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. My
Well, she was trying to play with a virtual balloon.
Right.
that's a problem. Yeah. No. I've got. I'm quite strict when it comes to that. I mean, my kid's young, but he's a kid. He's 3.5 years old. He will learn whatever we teach him. There's nothing about this world that he will learn in the absence of another human affecting his opinion. So if I teach him that it's, you can't live without VR or, mummy's mobile phone, he hasn't. I don't allow him to play with my cell phone. That's it.
Right.
I allow him to.
Don't start, because trust me, once they do.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
And when the time comes, he will get a utility phone. He needs to be taught that when kids tell you don't have a smartphone, you reply, "Yeah, but I have more free time, and I'm smarter than you, and I'm good looking, and I'm healthy, and you're going to spend so much money on shrinks." That's the reply, basically.
All right.
Right. We'll see how that works out in the schoolyard. But it's kind of funny, but I'm at least happy that having a VR helmet makes kids want to get up and like fight robots and stand up and not sit on the couch hitting the iPad. I know it's not the same as going outside, but it's at least a little bit better step in another direction. If you're playing boxing or VR boxing or whatever.
Okay. Let me
couch.
give you my personal experience. Okay, because I come from a different generation, a different country, a different walk of life than many of you guys. Okay, I grew up in a different continent. So for anyone who doesn't know, I'm Greek. I was born in Greece, and my parents.
Oh, there it is. I was going to ding the bell every time you said you were Greek.
Everybody drink.
Oh.
I'm just messing with you.
So,
go ahead.
So the other day, my son had a tantrum because, I don't know, he wanted something. It wasn't time for that. So with my wife, we decided to lock his toy room. Now, a toy room is nothing I could ever imagine growing up with. I had one bedroom with my brother. Okay, that was a normal. There's one bedroom for the parents, one bedroom for the siblings, and then there was a living room and a kitchen. That was it. A flat in Athens. And we still have that flat. So, having a toy room is, a big upgrade from that. So I had a lock, and I locked the door. That's it. So he had his meltdown for about 10-15 minutes. When he realized he wasn't getting any response, and we're talking about a 3.5-year-old kid. He took the stool he goes to the toilet for his pee-pee, he took a pillow, put it on top of that. He took his little magnetic Etch-a-Sketch, put it on top of that. He started spreading toys and puzzles over that to reach up. So suddenly, for the next hour, he was playing his own try to enter the room game, try to reach The lock. It was very high. He tried. He put covers. He folded the covers. He put a second pillow. Of course, it became unstable. But, it became his entertainment. So after that, he realized he couldn't get in. He sat down there and he started talking to us, saying things like, oh, the room and it's very high and that. And later on, he's downstairs in the living room. We don't watch too much TV. And he found a feather from a pillow. And he was ecstatic playing with a little feather, blowing it. I showed him how you can go and blow the feather for an hour. We couldn't get him away from the feather. We opened the room up there and he didn't want to go. So, this shows that people don't need iPads. They just need a general direction. And kids are, they're sponges. They will absorb anything you give them. They can watch you work. But if you say, listen, don't come close to here. This is daddy's, mummy's place. You can play over there. You can watch. You can ask. You can do whatever. You put the boundaries. It's very important for kids to know their boundaries. And that's my little story. He became an escape. He tried to become an escape artist to get into a room, to break into a room, which is far more educational and entertaining than sitting with 150,000 little cars going this.
So many cars.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. You can play with your toys, but first you must decipher a series of clues,
Like
each one more difficult than the next.
That's funny.
Give them a challenge. Other VR stuff I did want to talk about our VR meetup because we met up and it was fun. If you're gonna do a VR meetup, there's a lot of things that have to fall into place.
Don't do big screen for a
Well,
bit.
it was a big screen was a good meeting place for us to say, okay, we're here.
I guess.
And then we waited for people to show up, and then we said, okay, what are we gonna do? See, Matt, you didn't wait around long enough.
It's true.
We waited for everyone to show up.
I gotta clean my house. I've been having to clean my house.
But the thing is that, a lot of things have to fall into place to make a VR meetup work. First of all, you need some sort of audience that is in the general nerd category of being able to have the right gear and the headset and all that stuff, and then you have to plan the date and the time, and everybody has to meet in a place. So we had about 7 people show up, which I think is pretty good for a VR meetup randomly on a motion graphics channel. And so it was a lot of fun because we met up, we started talking about things, we were figuring out how to use the software, and then we said, all right, so what are we going to do? So we ended up going to Rec Room, which is a lot of fun, and we all invited each other to private rooms. We sat around racing remote control cars around this little park, and which my daughter showed me how to do this.
That's funny.
so you could do these cars. Like the remote control car has a little camera on it, and so you can see what the car is seeing and drive it around the entire deal. So we were doing that, and then we sat around the campfire for a while and walked through some waterfalls, and then we went over to the paintball area, and we all played some paintball together. So it was a lot of fun. So we'll probably do it again at some point. So get on Slack and find the info in there. One thing we were talking about in there is this game coming out called Beat Saber.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
So it's like Guitar Hero meets Star Wars.
Yeah,
and so you're using lightsabers. And
it seems kind of like you're drumming in a way, but you're
almost
slashing.
Like Fruit Ninja.
Kind of, but you're slashing the things coming at you, and it tells you which direction you have to slash it to cut it in half. Which looks pretty cool. When I first saw it, I was hoping that they do something like a drum set, because I would love to learn to play drums. And if I could learn to play drums, so much. I could play a little bit of drums. If I could learn to play it better, in VR, that would be awesome. That would be very cool. I don't know. So
it's like Fruit Ninja or something like that.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's talk about your background, because I want to know about 80s Nose Man.
Well, I'm lucky. I'm lucky because I was there from the very, very beginning. All right,
How did you get into this industry? That's what I want to know.
So I don't even know. So the first real computer I was aware of was the Sinclair ZX81 with 1K RAM. It was kind of this big. If you Google it, you'll see it, which I saw in a newspaper ad. I think it was back in 81 or something like that, 1980. So I went to this computer fair, first time in my life. And it was like the most amazing thing. It was at the Hilton Hotel in Athens, and I just walked in there. I was like, what is this? Computers. No one had a computer. We just heard about them. We would read about them, but no one ever had it. So I walked over to that booth that sold the ZX81. It was like a very small thing. The keyboard was a touch kind of a membrane thing, and it was this big. That was it. And by the way, someone wrote a chess game for it on 1K RAM. Talk about wasting resources now. Anyway, so funny enough, that's why a lot of luck is involved in this. The next year, 81, 82 or something like that, I visited some friends in Cyprus. So one of the guys I met from a friend had one of these at home, which belonged to a friend of his. So out of the blue, I'm sitting there in front of a television with a thing that's this big with a keyboard, and you can write basic code. I didn't even know what programming was. So he wrote from the manual. He wrote this, to do a sine wave, and every pixel. I think it was the pixels were 64 by 48 or something. So it started going. Boop, 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 boop. That was the real time speed of making pixels as big as blocks, and that was it for me. The fact that you can write. You could, I always loved math and geometry and all that at school. That was my thing. Physics, chemistry, and all that, but mostly math and geometry was my thing. And the fact that you can write 2 lines of code in a language, a weird language, and you could draw a sine wave on a television, that was it. Fast forward, now I teach. Oh, you don't want any more details. Anyway, so that was my first thing. So a few months later, I found a brochure about the new computer, ZX, that was Spectrum, and that was 8 colors and all that, 16K of RAM, blah, blah, blah. And my parents went to England for some work they had to do. So I gave my mum my savings, and she brought me one of those. And I was never the shy one. When I received it, the first thing I did, for some odd reason, I'm like 16 years old, or no, what was that? No, sorry, I'm not 16. Yeah, I'm 16 years old. I took the box and went to the distributor, the person that sold these things. And I was like, hey guys, I got one of these from the UK. And I think our stream has frozen. Oh no, it's back again.
Nope.
So I don't know why I did that. Why would you ever go to the people that sell it and tell them that you bought one from somewhere else? But I was a kid.
So you could talk about it, right?
Well, that was the whole thing. There was no one else to talk about it. One of the people working there took interest in me, like 16-year-old in computers and all that. He was my first boss a few years later. He hired me to make copies of games, pirated copies of games for a computer called the Oric. So after the ZX Spectrum, a whole, Amstrad and all these companies in Oric, there were, I think, 20, 30 different small computers. And back then I played water polo. I kind of missed my opportunity to play in the Olympics, in the Seoul Olympics. So I wanted to work with computers. I was a bit of a mess. I had to go for 2 years and go to the army. In Greece, it's mandatory. So I went from, 86 and 87 was my, I was drafted basically. So that,
right.
It puts things off their paces. Because I was playing water polo and I had some national team things, I got into physical education university. I never wanted to study it though. So I ended up just being a high school graduate. That's my background. High school graduate. When I finished school, I started working. Then I went to the army, and after the army, I just went to work for an Apple dealer, the bigger Apple dealer then, in 1987. And by that time, Mac 2 came out. In 1985, 2 years back, he brought the first Mac 128, put it on my desk, and said, "This is a mouse. This is a computer. Figure it out." Yeah, it was outside the box, and a few minutes later I was printing the first little sketch. I think it must have been the first ever sketch made in Greece in the history of, Apple in Greece that was printed. He still has the printout from the image writer. It was a dot matrix printer. Yeah.
Oh, really?
And it was a little caricature holding a cigarette. Anyway, so I got hooked with Macs. From my ZX Spectrum thing, I knew how to code sometimes, so it was a good, it was a help for me because back then everything wasn't so user friendly. And anyway, I worked for this guy for a few years. I designed some Greek fonts. I started using Adobe Illustrator. That brought me more in the graphics design world. And because I always had a bit of, I'm not very good, but I'm quite good at drafting and sketching and drawing some things. It just came, again, it's pure luck. Computers and art just come together, and there you go. Both of the things I love are there. And I started doing with Illustrator 9 some gradients and masks, and someone said, oh my God, these are like airbrush things. And I started doing some freelance projects for a little studio. He had Macs and he didn't know what to do with them. He would just do cards, business cards, because his brother-in-law had one of those little presses, a very small press, just to do printing. They used to print cards. And I told him how you can print on a laser writer. If you print something at 300 dpi at US letter size or A4, if you shrink it 25%, the resolution becomes 1200. It's 4 times as more, which was the resolution they used to print on those high-end Linotronic printers and Agfa and all that. So I have to say that was my invention. You don't need to buy a printer that costs $20,000. You can get away with a printer that costs $1,000. Just print your card, your business card, 4 times as big. So that was that was always my edge. I could. It was easy for me to understand these kind of things. It was obvious. I didn't even have to think about it. You make something 4 times bigger. You shrink it down with a vertical, a repro camera, and you got a normal high resolution print. And I worked with Young and Rubicam, which is one of the big advertising agencies. It's one of those old school with Ogilvy and McCann Erickson and so forth. They hired me in 1991. They hired me. I set up their studio with a couple of Macs and a scanner and a laser writer and all that. And that was it. I was doing, that's what defined my career. And I became the person everyone went to do their stuff. So I was supporting a studio with 14 groups of art directors and copywriters, with 2 overhead creative directors, and they would do all the drafts and all that, and I will do the final artwork and print it or send it to high resolution printing, repro printing.
So at what point did you go from, just printing stuff into actual motion design and 3D animation and stuff? Well,
that was much later. The 3D stuff, that's the funny thing. I always had a fascination. One of the first programs I wrote on my ZX Spectrum was a rotating cube, because we were learning trigonometry. And it came, I realized that if you're trying to convert something from 2D to 1D, all you have to do is project it, and you find the angle and the length of the line that's projected using simple trigonometry. And the same applies from 3D to 2D. And I made a spinning cube. That was it. And I think that was the last program I ever wrote. I thought that was such a huge accomplishment. Nothing would ever overshadow it. Right. But with 3D, by coincidence, I met a guy that had one of those. They used to do TV post-production, and back then it was a totally different story. They had it was standard definition TVs. A rendering would be pretty much what software GL used to do in Cinema4D at version 8, but it was calculated by a machine half the size of this room, and it was a Phong rendering computer. And that, so I that was before I worked for advertising. I was just this young person with an interest, and wherever I found a new door, a sign that said, a TV studio, I would just walk in and be like, hey, what's up? I was lucky because Greece was the ideal country to do that. Probably in other countries it would have been kicked out, or I don't know, beaten or shot or something. But in Greece, people were like, hey, what do you mean? Well, I see you're using fonts for video, I've created some fonts for PostScript. Oh, PostScript, what is that? Well, it's a Adobe thing. Oh, really? And I got some Type 3 fonts. And if you open a Type 3 font, it's one of those old font types. You could open it from Adobe Illustrator because it's basically an EPS file. You get every single letter on top of each other. So you get the outlines. Before Adobe Illustrator had a create outlines function, I used to do that. I would get the Type 3 font and open it from Illustrator and then do my typesetting with all these fonts. So I can do all sorts of effects with them and pull them and make them longer and shorter. I found a way to provide this guy with the mathematical expression, which was the Bezier curve, and he could import it in his video titling thing. So and these were flukes. I mean, had their font not being based on the same Bezier math that the Type 3 font was based, that wouldn't happen. But it was all these series of coincidences. I don't know, serendipity. It's just, if you go looking for stuff, you'll probably find them. You have to be proactive and. But that was my taste of 3D. I sat with a Silicon Graphics. They had some software called Thomson Digital Image, where you could do simple stuff, but if you want to do a loft, you had to program it in C. But that was my limit. That's where I realized that doesn't interest me. So then the advertising thing became the thing. And a few years later, I worked for a production studio doing some offline editing and all that with Premiere and Electric Image. So that was when I got into 3D more. Fantastic program, Electric Image. I did my modeling in a program I bought called Amapi. Google it. AMAPI. It had a very futuristic interface, but it was a fantastic modeling program for the time. And a year later, I visited London with a friend to see something called the London Effects and Animation Festival, where we saw a booth with a few tall guys, skinny guys, and there was something rendering, and the scan line was going like, and it was, I think it was two of the main developers of Cinema4D, and it was Maxon. And we could see like Lightwave rendering trying to do its little rain rendering and all that crap. And there was a program going like whoop, whoop, whoop. And I was like, what is this? Totally unreal. When I went to Greece, I found the local distributor, a one-man band called Michalis Kostantopoulos. And if you're listening, I don't know, but you played a major role for me being right here now. Yeah. And he was kind to offer me an NFR version because I was writing some articles for a magazine, talking about doing everything to make a living. And I wrote some articles about 3D software, including some stuff about Cinema4D. Then another company got the distribution and they didn't want to go and visit a distributors meeting in Germany. And instead they sent me on my own a dime, which I never miss an opportunity to go and meet everyone. And that's where I met the Maxon people. The first person that greeted me outside Maxon was David Drayton. He, Neo Sushi. Yeah, he makes the Stranger Things and all that. Yeah, he was the first person that I met personally from Maxon. And it was great. Yeah. And I went there representing myself, basically. Met the fantastic people. By the way, have you heard of Bonnie M? You says like a fool. What about Daddy Cool? All right. So
see, I only know the Rasputin song.
Okay. From right. The producer, which was the same producer for Milli Vanilli. I've told this story a few times. He owned the villa where Maxon has as their main offices. That's the villa, what we call the villa. And it even has the dark brown round bathtubs. Because this was strictly 70s, 80s. It has the offices are still the soundproof studios they did the recordings in. So that's cool. He was the guy that was the singing voice of Milli Vanilli before the scandal broke out. If if people don't understand what I'm talking about, just Google Milli Vanilli. Yeah. And he was the producer and all that. Anyway. And then Maxon became a big part of my life because you meet people and you realize that, there's this group of extremely smart, intelligent, good, polite people that are behind technology that's beautiful. And, things build up from then. I moved to the UK in 2006, having predicted the crisis in the global crisis and the Greek crisis. And a big part of my work, I started as, I did photoshopping and artworking and all that. And suddenly I started working as a 3D freelancer, doing packaging, and most of my I made most of my income making cigarette packs for advertising agencies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for the Eastern market. So it was like Southeast Asia and Russia and and the Eastern European countries. But yeah, cigarette packs. So even if you go on my website nosman.org, which is back from 2014, you will see some cigarette packs which are from back then, and that was my main means of living. And that's why I do a lot of packaging stuff now, because what I'm trying to do, I don't want to. I'm 52, okay. If I'm lucky, I've lived. I'm past my 50th percentile life expectancy. So I've learned a lot of things, and I want to find a way for all the things I know to be passed out there, because I struggled. I didn't want to struggle, and I hate to think that other people are struggling to learn the same things that I've learned. And that's one of the things I like about the Cinema4D community, that a lot of people are so, eager to share, and
absolutely.
Have you heard of the story working under the blanket? So I don't know if that maybe you have an equivalent expression. So in the aviation industry, when an apprentice would come to work with an aviation engineer, because it was such a close-knit circle of professionals, what they would do, so that the apprentice would not see how the actual engineer is fixing the engine, the plane engine, he would put a blanket over himself with a flashlight, so that he would not pass any of his knowledge. He would pass only the knowledge he wanted to pass to the other people. So that's working under the blanket. And I hate that, because what are you going to do? Take it with you? For God's sake, especially now at a day and age, if you don't want to give it for free, great, just do a platform, but tell people. I get great pride when anyone says, "Oh, I picked up a tip from you." I love that. I love that. I'm not rich. I'm never going to be rich, but at least I'm going to be fulfilled, and knowing that there is someone in some part of the world, that is doing something because he learned one thing from me. I take great pride in that. So
for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So basically, that's my thing.
When did you get together with Maxon? Like, at what point did you start?
Oh, Maxon US. Yeah. You mean Maxon US?
Yeah.
Okay, so I moved to Canada in 2013. My wife's Canadian, so I moved here, and since it was, I knew Paul before that, never met him or any of the guys from this side of the Atlantic, but since I was close here, then it became more, convenient for me to, fly out and so forth. And I had a couple of tutorials on Linda. I have a UV body paint one and the dynamics one. And Paul and everyone else knew of my work. We did a couple of tests, and they liked my tutorials, and they liked my presentation style. So in 2014 was my first NAB, which is a great surprise for me, because I actually loved...
I was probably at that NAB.
Really?
Yeah.
We
were.
Yeah.
Anyway, I loved Las Vegas. I went there, a huge prejudice, because I don't love Las Vegas because of the casinos and the ding-dings and all that. Yeah,
same here.
No, it can't be the same. I love it for one and only thing. Have you ever been to Greece? Have you ever been to one of the Greek islands?
No, I have not.
No. I'm sitting... This is one of the funny things, crazy. You're sitting at the MGM on the 20th floor, looking towards the east. That's what I always ask for, an eastern facing room. And behind the dry mountains, the sun comes up. So you kind of see the desert, and you see the mountains and the sun. If you exchange in your mind the sand with blue color, it's like being on a Greek island looking at the Aegean and the dry islands of the Aegean. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I went to Las Vegas to find something that is very close to what I'm used to to a good memory from Greece, because both England and Toronto are flat. They're pancakes. There's not a single mountain.
Yeah.
So, there's a
Same
hill.
in Dallas.
Well, exactly. And I grew up in Greece, which is a particularly mountainous country.
Dang.
So yeah, I went to Las Vegas to find that emotional connection with a place. It's just a hue shift, you know.
Yeah,
a hue shift.
Yeah.
That was very, very simple.
See, I liked Vegas. I don't know. I went to Vegas for my dad took me for my 21st birthday. So, you know, we partied and had fun. It wasn't until I started going to I have family who lives around that area. So from that point on, you know, from turning 21, I was going to Vegas at least 2 times a year.
Okay.
Didn't you live there for a little bit?
When I was 3, but that's
okay.
You know, that's nothing. The only thing I remember from growing up in Vegas was I don't know, lots of tumbleweeds. There was a tumbleweed the size of our house one time, you know.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, it was awful.
Anyway, so I need to cut this short. I need to make a run.
Oh yeah, sure.
If you're okay with that, is that permitted on the?
That is
program?
permitted.
Is
Totally.
that okay with everyone else?
Do
not start fires. Do
Totally.
not break your computers. You know.
Can we? Do you have 5 more
Yes,
minutes?
I do.
Okay, we've got something that we have to do with all of our guests now.
Yes,
and that's called Brograph Recommends. And so this is going to be. We'll quickly go through this list, and you can give us the answers to these, and this will go up on the website. Favorite movie?
Demolition Man with Wesley Snipes and Sylvester
that was a
Stallone.
good one.
Because
That's a good
it was
answer.
a precursor to our society now, closer than 1984, I think.
I can't wait until Taco Bell takes over.
And then favorite music, favorite maybe album or music.
Oh, that's a difficult one. All right, let me. I'll tell you the thing that brings me the best memories: Dire Straits.
Okay.
Dire Straits. Google it, for crying out loud. Dire Straits. It's a band, a British band. Mike Knopfler, one of the best guitarists of all time, and so forth. But I'm a classic rock fan. But Michael Jackson on the other side. I grew up with Jacko. I mean, I used to do the dances and all that, and James Brown. Yeah, I grew up in the 80s. That Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, and breakdancing and all that. It came a bit late to Greece, but it was ideal for my age. I used to do the everythings. Yeah. Embarrassing to think about it. I had an afro. Maybe one day I'm going to post an old photo with me and my big hair.
Yes.
Yeah. So next.
Totally.
Sorry, it wasn't a yes or no answer. Yeah.
Next, favorite TV show.
Ooh. It's between. Oh my God. Again, difficult one. I'm going to give you 3, and then I'm going to narrow it down. So, The Wire, Breaking Bad, Dexter. Let's see. Oh, damn it. The original Star Trek.
Yeah. There we go. All right.
Favorite podcast.
Brograph.
Whatever.
That's what everybody says.
Yeah.
Do you listen to podcasts in general, like often?
Not really.
No. No. Okay.
It's okay.
Favorite plugin.
Ooh. Favorite plugin. Cinema4D plugins.
All of them.
That's
There you
fine.
go.
But if we're talking about the biggest powerhouse plugin, I would say is X Particles. Yeah, it changed. Yeah, because it kind of changed the game.
I'll agree with that.
And Mike is a good friend, and I mean, he's done. You guys have no idea what this guy went through to bring this. You need to interview him one day in depth, and because he's
we do.
Yeah, he's been struggling before it ever became apparent. He's worked his beep off to get it to that point. Yeah, he's worked so much like no one else. Yeah, and I'm thankful because like many other people, he made it possible to do all these amazing things.
Headphones.
Sennheiser.
There you go.
All right.
I have another set as well. 3Ds, but they're a bit too tight, and they're gaming, but very good quality of sound. Those are the ones I used to do my first recordings, until I thought I'd go with a professional setup.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Thank you.
Favorite website or Chrome extension, if you want to go that route.
Chrome. Favorite website. Where do I go? What's my favorite website? Oh, the Maxon's beta testing forum.
Okay. Okay.
And lastly, what is your favorite life hack besides procrastination?
Favorite life hack. I call it a life hack, but it's high performance sports.
Okay.
Yeah, because it is a life hack. I used to train 13 times a week, 2.5 to 3 hours each time. So 2 times a day, morning and evening, and and once on Sunday. Nice. Just to give you perspective, when a normal person that knows how to swim can actually swim well, I could jump at this age, 52, and I haven't been to the pool for many, 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 many years, and I've got so many injuries and so forth. I can still jump out of the water without touching the ground just by doing the egg beater up to my Speedo, because we do wear Speedos. So I can lift my whole upper body up, and I'm over 200 pounds. And that is something a normal human cannot do. When I was 18, 19 years old, I could actually jump up to my kneecaps out of the water. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'll have to, maybe that's something I should get into then.
Swimming is the best, I believe, the best exercise, because it puts the least amount of stress on your skeleton and your muscles, and the maximum amount of stress on your respiratory and circulation. Because not only you need to breathe, you have to breathe in rhythm when your head is outside the water. Otherwise, you do what's called drown.
Right.
So it creates discipline. And you hold your breath, and so his new nickname is Flipper. Look. How do dolphins do that? Look. Okay, guys.
Oh, all right. Well, we appreciate you so much for coming on and talking to us. We're gonna have to do more because there's so much we could talk about.
Next time, maybe we should structure it a bit better. And what I would love to do with you guys, maybe we can do some sort of webinar or something. If we get an interesting amount of tips and tricks, maybe at some point we can just cut through, show a few things, and so forth. I'm working now, self-promotion, I'm working on some fantastic tutorials. Most of them have nothing to do with anyone that's listening. It's for new people that don't know 3D, but from very specific disciplines. And at the same time, I'm creating some on-the-side tutorials, again, for Cineversity, to create line art and so remember those big raster effects? What are they called? Pattern effects, like old newspapers used to print. You could print with big dots. What's that called?
Yeah.
Diffusion patterns and so forth.
Points or
lines and all that.
Yeah.
I'm developing a very, very simple technique which you can use in Cinema4D Lite as well, where you can
cool.
Halftone.
Halftone lines, exactly. So I'm developing a technique to do that, but from on screen space or object space. You can do all sorts of weird things to do very extreme contrast artistic stuff. So
cool.
Awesome.
Thank you everyone for well, all you 12 people.
Hey, there's 25 watching now.
So it was great talking to you guys again. And whenever you want, just give me a call, and I'll be available.
Cool, man. Well, we'll see you in Vegas.
All right.
Right, take care.
People, where do you get that people, what's up with that guy?
So, we've got quite a bit of Beeple's People to do today, and I don't know if you want to get into all these, but man, I could not choose. There are 6 epic ones to choose from. And so...
All right, tell me which ones they are, and I'll nix a couple of them. All right?
All right. Okay, we have to start with this one. So we're going to go from here. If you take your Beeple viewer of choice and go to March 5th, year of our Lord 2018, it is called Old Guard.
I like that. It's pretty.
And, I think somebody even commented in the Slack channel. that this is going to be an epic people week.
Yeah, someone did. I think it was.
And
I think it was
it's
Billy.
true. Oh, Billy. So, this one is interesting because it has the rectangle portal-y thing.
Yeah, but it's not full portal.
Right.
It's a gradient
but
portal.
It's a gradient portal as if it's maybe disappearing or appearing or something like that. But there's two animals of some sort, maybe a horse or something, and they've got skeletons. And I'm wondering now, is this a portal that maybe started to disappear and these animals are in front of it and it killed
Perhaps.
them? Or like, what's the deal?
I'm getting a very Lost theme here, like Lost with the what is it? The white bears. Oh my gosh. The polar bears.
The polar bears?
With the polar bears
Yeah.
and how they were transferring polar bears to the island to test this transportation system. That's what I'm getting with this.
Right. Is that what that was?
Yeah, dude.
Oh.
Dude, I
guess I never
saw
caught that.
I saw a there was someone online had a basically a Lost breakdown. It was like answering all the Lost questions that you could ever have, and like 90% of it was the island is magic.
Right.
That was 90% of the answers.
Whenever something like that happens, a fairy did it.
He did. So,
All right. So as far as structure of this, I'm guessing redshift. That's my guess.
yeah, maybe.
I'm thinking, I don't know if it's forest or palms. It's so hard to tell some of these if it's forest or stock or what it is, or if they're instanced. But you got these crystal things going on.
Yeah.
And then my question is this particular planet, is this the terraform planet? Is this something else?
I don't know.
Or what?
I think this is something else because maybe this is a potential planet. That's what I think. I think this is a potential planet, and that's why you've got these animals here.
So they put them there to see if they would survive, and they died.
Oh, that's good. I like that. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, but also it's called Old Guard, so it was almost like maybe these two were guarding the portal. But then they died.
Yeah. Kind of like the never-ending story,
Yeah, the more food for thought for the Beeple book.
Right. I'm writing it in my head right now.
Yeah. And all right, so you don't want to do all of them, so I'm going to ask, if you want to do Future Taser because it looks a little Daft Punkish.
Yeah.
Or if we'll just say, okay, there it is, we'll move on.
Okay, so Future Taser, this kind of looks similar to what's the one when he's giving up, Which one was that one from?
I don't see that.
I think this is, I don't know. That looks like it's from the opposite side. Anyway, okay, keep going.
Okay, but we won't go into depth on that one. This one I do want to go into. It's called Hue Shift.
This one's pretty.
Because for one, the palms are similar to the other planet. And then you've got the guy standing on the bridge, which I think this is the guy you think is actually Beeple.
Let's see.
Or a scan of Beeple,
yeah.
But I don't think it is. But the big thing is we've got this tie-in to this like Japanese structure that we keep seeing.
Right.
And it's either kind of in its native habitat or it's in a huge skyscape or something like that. That's what I keep seeing this building and I'm like, what is this?
Dude, I will tell you what.
Shift part I get because
so when how when people say like the 70s, you have this look in your head, when people say the 80s, you have this look in your head of like the design aesthetic and everything. People say 90s, you think of the fashions. When people talk about like the 2010s or whatever or late 2010s, purples and pinks, it's all purples and pinks. Like, that is what it's going to be loaded with.
Yeah, I can kind of see that.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
All right. So, again, same render engine is what I'm guessing. But, I mean, I don't know. But still, I just keep thinking, okay, what is the tie-in with this Japanese culture thing and some of these landscape. So we're
in
just
all
gonna-
honesty,
we're gonna,
in all honesty, I don't think there's a tie-in. I don't know the tie-in as far as a story, but I think he just got like some more packs, and he really just wants to incorporate these.
or he just hears me talking
Right,
about it
right.
and he's trying to throw
Right.
me off. Let's go to March 8th, Hutopia, because again, the Hue thing, but man, this is a spectacular
It's very
one.
pretty.
In Hutopia, I'm wondering if this is kind of like the ultimate end goal to this new terraformed planet.
Oh,
because
yeah.
This is like, it's a utopia because
Right.
they finally got it to where they
Right,
want it.
right, right.
Like all these years of the people slaving away and whatnot, and this is where we ended up. So, like the master society with the, like awesome buildings and technology's perfect and there's no war and no crime and everything's great. I feel like this is like the very end of the book. This is very close to the end. You see this structure. And even in the background, like if you look in the background, some of these buildings almost look like greenhouse type buildings. It's very green. It's very efficient. And maybe even there are some, I feel like maybe in the background, maybe there's some rockets or something going on. I'm going to guess though on this that this is Octane.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that.
Maybe not, but I'm guessing Octane.
Yeah,
on that,
I'll agree with you. It's pretty.
And we've got two more that I just can't ignore today.
Two more I just can't ignore. Yeah, I
March
know.
9th, thermonuclear ladybugs.
Love it. Absolutely
come
love
on.
it. It's so good.
And to me, is this the guy who had the hood that was giving up in a couple weeks ago?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, look at the two of them. Like, cause, well, no, that's just an
tell.
instance of her.
It's not. Is it what? Is it a guy? But is it hair? Is it a woman?
I think it's a woman. Yeah.
Or is it a guy with a hood?
No, I think it's a woman.
Can't see. Oh, okay. There we go. All right. So, what is going on with the ladybug? First of all, because we've had all these animals, right?
Dude, the ladybug is awesome. I freaking love this thing. This was a really, really awesome.
We got small ones and big ones, and then we had the pig, and what else?
Oh, right.
We had some. Was it like cows or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Because these are the little people's people, so they could ride.
I don't think these are the little
medium-sized ladybug.
yeah, maybe. I mean,
That's the thing. Is it a small person or is it a big ladybug?
no, because look at the size of the jet engine. Look at the size of.
Yeah, but you could.
And look, you got smaller ladybugs too.
What's also interesting, I think they've hijacked the brains of these ladybugs.
Oh, yeah, for
because
sure.
Look how they have the and also check this out. Like, I don't know how easy it is to see, but it almost looks like there's an overlay of line art on some of this. On some of the mechanical pieces.
Yeah, I think he does that sometimes. Like if he wants to get
really
more details on stuff, he will render out like a wireframe pass or something, and then just stick it over there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
man, really cool. And I'm guessing Octane on that one. By the by.
No,
And
I'll
it's just
say
so hard to tell
Redshift.
after the
I'll say
post.
Redshift. Yeah, I know.
You think
Sage
so?
said, guys, the heavy neon color world is the VR world. A few months back, a bunch of people had VR helmets. Even that giant pig and stuff, these heavy neon worlds is what they see.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I like that. I'm so excited about this one.
Okay, go to March 10th.
Yeah.
Emoji Warfare.
Dude, this one actually, I think, hit the front of Reddit the other day.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Yeah.
I'm seeing. Okay, so you have the crying emoji with like this almost like Greeble displacement map going on, with like numbers, and you've got those cables again, the same ones we saw coming off of the Japanese stuff a while back. Helicopters and army, and they're all around this emoji character, and so we've got to figure out how this one ties in, because emoji warfare, do you think that there are different battalions that represent different emojis?
I don't think so. I think, well, I don't know. Emoji.
Or
Okay.
are they against each other,
No.
or is
No.
each? Are they competing battalion? Like,
You
how
know,
does this work?
like the atomic bomb, you know, that the U.S. dropped during World War II. Its nickname was what? Big Boy and Little Boy, or something like that. You know.
No, I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure it's something like that. So, in this future, this is the. I think this is a bomb. You know. And I think this is crying boy or crying emoji. From now on, they don't actually make the bombs look like bombs. They make them look like giant emojis, so people know what to expect.
So people know how to feel as it's coming toward them,
Right,
they're about
exactly.
to die.
Well, that's. I mean, this is just the crying emoji. This could just make them cry. You know, could bring on hardcore feelings of.
What's a cry bomb?
Oh yeah, cry bomb. There you go. See. You know, there could be the X over the eyes bomb, emoji bomb, you know, and that would be like death, you know. But then I'm thinking maybe you could do the vomiting emoji. Oh man, I would love to see this with the vomiting emoji. That would be awesome.
I think maybe what this does is it will bomb a planet and it will freeze and suspend them for a certain amount of time. And that's why it's the cryogenic bomb.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Emoji.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fat man and little boy. Yeah. Okay.
This almost starts a whole other section, like the emoji.
Well, okay.
The emoji wars. Like, when did the emoji wars happen? What year was that?
Okay. I feel like with thermonuclear ladybugs and emoji warfare, he's definitely like pulling kind of inspiration from Hudas, you know, because like with his stuff, like maybe he was just inspired by his stuff and he wanted to do something like that. I mean, that could be the inspiration behind it, because I mean they're both great. They're both great pieces.
I love both.
Yeah,
like these two right here, like I would want on my wall.
I totally agree. Totally agree.
Cool.
I'd buy a poster of that.
Like I want canvas prints of these.
Yeah.
And what render engine do you think that
the
is
emoji
there?
warfare? I don't know. I'll say Redshift.
Yeah. You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Even with like the little displacement things going on, and
yeah.
Okay, all right, cool. Well, that wraps up the ones. I mean, there were just so many good
there were
ones
good
this
ones
week.
this
It was
week.
just so amazing.
Yeah.
So, just had to get into that a little more. Anything else we've got on the agenda here? I think I have one more thing. In email, real quick, I wanted to go to this just to put this out there, because, you know, from time to time, people ask us about tutorials that have been around for a while. This is from Ryan, who says, I noticed in the Oculus Cinema 4D integration tutorial, it appeared you were using Oculus on a Mac. Was curious what OS you had. How are you able to get the Oculus working on the Mac? And basically, Oculus Rift, they decided to not support Mac anymore.
Right.
And they said someday they will. But back when I did that, it was the original headset, the DK. It was DK1.
Yeah, I think it was DK1,
the original
yeah.
one. So, yeah, that was really old. And hopefully someday they will come back and start developing for Mac again. But it's just hard to say. I know they said they're probably going to come back and do that, but I kind of feel like maybe they just won't. So I just, I don't know what's going on with Apple and all this stuff. They're trying to get into VR and all that, but I just don't see it really picking up the way it is anywhere else.
Al Heck on the chat said PTSD from emoji warfare. I remember the days when the first smiley dropped. That's funny.
What happens when they do the vomit one?
Oh my gosh, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
Oh man, you could just go off on such a tangent. That could be a whole volume.
Yeah.
Is the in
the emoji
in the book
wars
series is the emoji wars.
Yeah.
It could be an entire thing. Somebody's gonna write that someday. Make $1 million.
Yep. The emoji wars.
The emoji wars.
All right.
Well, we got stuff to do, so we're gonna get out of here, post the show, post more cool videos, get ready for some live stuff, and do taxes.
Yay!
Fun for all. So, what do we got to take care of here? You can rate us on iTunes, leave a review. You can also subscribe to us. We have lots of shirts out now. We've got the No Brograph, No Mograph tee, the Gate D. Simone limited edition shirt. We've got the Paul Babb Feel the Bad 2020 shirt, which all profits from that go to Doctors Without Borders. And now we have the Render Things t-shirt and hoodie. So make sure you get that.
Yep.
Those are pretty dope. And we need to get some, we're going to get some Render Things shirts printed, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
NAB.
I think that's a really good idea.
That'll be the one that we do up for the year. You can subscribe to our newsletter as well. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and of course, YouTube and Brograph.com. And we're looking forward to getting more emails. Brograph@Brograph.com. We need show topic ideas or get in the Slack. Next week, we will have Mr. Plow on.
Yay!
That's the name. That name again is Mr. Plow.
Yep.
And so we're going to talk about what it's like to run a
render farm. Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you get contact with us if you have any questions for him. And we'll be seeing you later.
Yep.
Is that it?
I think that's
Are we
it.
done? All right.
Let's do it.
Till next week, I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt.
Have a good one.
Later, bros.
It's pretty good, I guess. Brograph.com, an online resource for learning Cinema4D, After Effects, and other motion graphics tools specifically catered to help you prevail as a motion graphic designer.
What's up, bros? Welcome to another Brograph motion graphics tutorial.
With tutorials, plugins, and now a podcast with tens of thousands of listeners worldwide.
Yeah, it's a great community to be part of.
We give you professional time-saving tips, industry news, interviews, shortcuts, and lessons that help keep you current in the world of motion design.
Throw in HDR Studio, take the render settings, pick the HDR, put in reflection, and gorgeous.
I love projects that scare me. When our art director comes to us and asks for something that I had never done before, man, it gets me pumped.
Our weekly long-form podcast will give you the latest news, help you in your file management, hardware configuration, and client relations. Learn about the latest render engines, modeling techniques, and workflow integration while staying entertained. Real nice banana.
Ah, that's so funny. All right. I'm going to live forever.
Our Brograph Talks are a chance to see the way industry leaders from around the globe are changing the face of motion design.
Sometimes you got to make stuff that you're not going to put on your reel, and I'm not here to judge.
The podcast and talks include people like Beeple, Barton Damer, Nick Campbell, Andrew Kramer, David Ariev, Chad Ashley, Paul Babb, EJ Hassenfratz, Mitch Myers, Chris Schmidt, Jules Urbach, Cornelius Dammert, David Brodeur, Andy Needham, Caitlin Kaju, Zubair Parker, Noseman, Ryan Bean, Casey Hupke, Nick Lyons, Sage, Joey Korenman, Jeremy Cox, Rick Barrett, John Dickinson, Matthias Omatola, Patrick Goski, Brandon Clements, Steve Teeple, Tom Glimpse, Patrick Longstream, Julia Simone, Devin Coe, Al Heck, and even Deadmau5.
You get that render done. Yeah, you better frame what?
Our Brograph breakdowns go behind the projects and give you an insight on what it's like to manage and maintain your own personal business or work for a large company. Join us for live sessions, check out our useful plugins, watch time-lapse projects, interact with us, and send us email questions and topic ideas. Or just hit the Rando Render button and do an imaginative daily that'll keep you on your toes.
Take all your dreams and let's do it!
Subscribe today and get automatic updates on the latest tutorials, tricks, tips, and inspiration brought to you by industry professionals Dave Koss and Matt Milstead. We don't care how you get here, folks. Just get here. Subscribe now to Brograph Tutorials. It's pretty good, I guess.